During the Civil War, General Nathaniel Lyon landed Union troops just below Miners Hill at a steamboat landing. Union gun units were placed on Miners Hill so control could be maintained over the Missouri River and the railroad tracks located just below. The penitentiary shops were also used by the Union Army for the manufacturing of various supplies needed. In 1926, approximately 60 female offenders were moved from the Missouri State Penitentiary Female Ward, located in Housing Unit 1, to the Miner Mansion. A new building was completed in the 1930s and the Miner House was demolished. The women farmed a section of land located just to the east of Miners Hill. It became known as Farm Number 1. On the land, a variety of produce was raised for consumption by the prison population. Constructed in the 1930s, the potato house was used as underground storage for vegetables produced from the farm operations at other Missouri prisons. It sits near the top of the hillside on Miners Hill. The north end opens to the bluff above the railroad and the Missouri River. The 40-plus acres inside the wall contains over 20 different buildings dating from the 1868 Housing Unit 4 to the 1982 Housing Unit 5C. Outside the wall are another 9 buildings. Housing Unit 1, formerly called H Hall, was constructed in 1905. It was used as the west entrance to the prison. The facade contains a bust of Governor Dockery, governor from 1901 to 1905, as well as a state seal and clock in the limestone. It housed the administration building and approximately 100 small two-man cells. In 1917, the housing unit was renovated and converted to house female inmates. It served this role until 1926. It housed such famous females as Emma Goldman, a world-famous anarchist, and Kate Richards O'Hare, Red Kate, an American. By 1888, the Missouri State Penitentiary was recognized as the largest in the world. Many private businesses were allowed to operate within the prison walls. Inmate labor was all but free. Several Jefferson City businessmen made fortunes within the walls of MSP. At one time, 6 shoe factories operated in the prison. The largest saddle tree factory in the world existed here. It was known as the J.S. Sullivan Saddle Tree Factory. A large clothing operation, hemp factories, and broom factory all operated inside the prison. As a result, many of those who made their fortunes inside the walls constructed mansions along East Capitol Avenue, which was known as East Main Street for many years. Some of the homes no longer exist, but several still remain. These include the old warden's residence built in 1888 and now owned by Robert L. Hawkins III. This beautiful and historic structure was originally occupied by Colonel Darwin Marmaduke, the brother to Confederate Major General and later Missouri Governor John S. Marmaduke. Colonel Marmaduke was the prison warden in 1888. Other homes along Capitol Avenue include those of Lester S. Parker of Parker Boot and Shoe Company and that of James Hoochin, who owned the Star Clothing Company. The lower yard area was surrounded by limestone walls and towers in the early 1900s. It contains a recreation area with ball fields, the Missouri gas chamber, and the industrial complex. The gas chamber, built in 1937, was the site of 40 executions, 39 by gas and 1 by lethal injection. The executions by gas occurred starting with a double execution of John Brown and William Wright in March of 1938, ending with the execution of Lloyd Anderson in 1961. In 1953, Carl Austin Hall and Bonnie B. Hetty, the only woman, were executed side by side in the chamber for the kidnapping and murder of 6-year-old Bobby Greenlease from Kansas City, a famous case during that period. In January of 1989, the 40th and last execution occurred, this time by lethal injection, when George "Tiny" Mercer was put to death. Inside the industrial complex are numerous factories where inmates produce items such as license plates, furniture, chemical products, and office systems. In the middle of the compound sits I Hall, a notorious housing unit built in 1927 to house the worst of the worst inside the prison. It was constructed of huge, thick walls of reinforced concrete. Even the roof was constructed of concrete. It was built to thwart inmate attempts to escape, even with the use of dynamite. Dynamite was accessible to the inmates who worked in the rock quarries. The inmates were housed 3 to a cell in the 150 cells. Pretty Boy Floyd served time in this housing unit. The housing unit was closed in the 1940s and has only been used for storage in the 50-plus years since. On the north end of the industrial complex, next to the Missouri River, sits the 1889 factory building that produces shoes, inmate clothing, and a sticker plant operation. In earlier years, this building housed other factories to include a large furniture factory. Housing Unit 5C, constructed in 1982, was designated the Supermax for the Missouri Department of Corrections. It was constructed of a modern 4-pod design with cells containing concrete bunks and stainless steel fixtures. It contains 104 cells on the first 2 levels with small, self-contained recreation areas. The upper levels contain a large dining room and food preparation area, as well as mechanical equipment rooms. The Jefferson City Correctional Center and its surrounding land have played an important role in both Missouri and Jefferson City's history. The prison offers examples of early American architecture using quarried limestone. The land has served Jefferson City and Missouri well, and will continue to in the future.